Join me in this introductory episode of Talking Thrills as I discuss everything you can expect from this exciting new project launching on the channel in the coming weeks, including who you can expect to see as the very first guest. Hello and welcome to Talking Thrills, the show in which we explore the nuts and bolts of theme parks from the perspectives of content creators and industry professionals. And welcome to, as I'm going to call it, episode 0 of the show. This isn't the first official episode, so to speak. It's essentially a video in which I'm going to be informing you of essentially everything you can expect from this exciting new project coming to the channel, just so that at the start of the first official episode I don't have to bore you for 20 odd minutes as I explain everything and answer all the potential frequently asked questions I'm probably going to get. It also wouldn't be very fair on the guest that I'm going to be interviewing in that episode, and I may or may not reveal in this video who that person is going to be. So yeah, I definitely thought it would be best to make this video beforehand, giving you all the information you need before we dive into the main show itself, where I'm going to be bringing on theme park content creators and industry professionals and giving you some behind the scenes interviews, diving into what they do on a day-to-day basis, how they came to be what they are, etc, etc. Now, quick disclaimer, some of the information I'm going to be covering in this video is stuff you may already know if you have watched my teaser video and read the description of that, but there's other bits as well I think you ought to be aware of that I haven't discussed anywhere before. I'm going to start off by giving you a brief overview of what the project is going to entail, and then I'm going to dive into some potential frequently asked questions that I think may be on your minds. And within that, there are a couple of questions I've been sent specifically by you guys as well, following a post I put out on both this channel and my Instagram as well, informing you that I'll be making this video and asking for your questions of what you'd like to know about this all. So as I've already alluded to briefly, Talking Thrills is going to be a talk show in which I'll be bringing on people and giving you guys some behind the scenes interviews. So I'll be bringing on theme park content creators, that could be YouTubers similar to myself, Instagrammers. If I'm feeling really nice, I might even bring some TikTokers on. If you've watched this channel before, you may know that I'm not a big fan of TikTok, but there are still some decent creators who do utilise it as a platform. And in terms of industry professionals, I'm referring to people who work with or for theme parks. And that could be anything from ride operators to people in entertainment teams, etc, etc. So that could be people who are working with or for parks now or have done so in the past. It really doesn't matter. If there's someone who I believe that is going to provide some interesting insights for you guys, I'll get them on the show. But this is all going to be about spreading the awareness of what it really takes to operate a theme park. What does the content creation grind actually involve? What has inspired these individuals to get to where they are today? How did they become theme park enthusiasts? How did they go from that to becoming content creators or working for a theme park or with a theme park, etc, etc. Before each episode, I'll be putting together a list of questions that I'm going to be asking these people. Obviously, the questions that I ask will depend on the guest that I'm bringing on. I'll obviously do my background research beforehand, but also as well, if the interview goes off on tangents, it really doesn't matter. This is going to be a very laid back show. If you know me, you'll know I'm not the most serious person. It may come across so on YouTube sometimes, but I'm all for a good joke, etc, etc. So it's not going to be really serious. Things can go off on any tangent they want, but the episodes will have structures to them, if that makes sense. In the more long-term future as well, when I'm potentially getting more well-known people on the show, I'll discuss a bit more about this later, but I'm not expecting to get the biggest of names on this show to start with. But in the case of people I bring on who quite a lot of you know a bit more of a background about, I may put out some polls for questions beforehand, so keeping it interactive with you guys and giving you the opportunities to submit questions that I can ask these people. But that's all of the basics out the way, so I'm going to jump in now to some quick fire potential frequently asked questions. Most of these are questions that I've put together myself that I think you guys would want answering, but as I said before, there are a couple that some of you have asked as well. So we're going to start off with, why did you decide to start Talking Thrills? Well, the reason for that is because I obviously do a hell of a lot of content, and a lot of that is from the same parks. With Pleasure Beach being my local, I tend to gravitate towards that a lot with my content. And usually I'll put out 15, 20, half an hour at a stretch videos about a very specific topic. And that could be vlogging a day out at a park, covering some updates from a park, giving a review of a park, ride, attraction, etc., etc. It does vary, but my content does tend to cover quite specific aspects of theme parks. And that's also, generally speaking, the best way to grow a channel as well, because there are so many theme park channels out there, and in order to grow within this niche, or any niche on YouTube really, you need a way to stand out. So I've, in the past, tried to establish myself as a Pleasure Beach content creator and whatnot in order to grow. The sacrifice in doing that is that there's a lot of views and opinions that I have of the industry that simply don't make it onto the channel. It's no secret that I often get labelled by people as quite a ranty person and content creator, but I feel sometimes I just don't have the opportunity to discuss my full perspective on certain aspects of the theme park industry. And as a result of that, people don't always understand my viewpoints and perspective on things based off my past experiences. Like, I've visited a hell of a lot of theme parks that I just never get the chance to talk about on this channel. There's often a bit of background there. For example, I may have seen things done at other parks in another way, but I've never discussed that on the channel before, because those particular parks, especially the abroad parks, for instance, which many enthusiasts consider to be run better, I just don't get the chance to discuss them on the channel. And I feel as a result of that, sometimes my views can be misunderstood. But the great thing about Talking Thrills is that it's, one, going to allow me to better establish myself within the niche, because I'm going to start to be known as someone who interviews people within the industry. So that's going to be great, and people will be attracted to the channel because of that. And I'm going to be able to achieve that while having the ability to discuss a broader range of topics related to the theme park industry that's hopefully going to allow you guys to be able to understand why I have the opinions I have of certain things that are expressed in my videos. The other reason I wanted to start this as well is just because I've always quite enjoyed theme park podcasts and podcast type content, even though I'm not branding this as a podcast, so to speak, is always something I've wanted to delve into. So why not? When will the first episode be released? Now, I have a bit of a confession to make here, guys. I'm aware I stated in the teaser video that the talk show is going to be launching in June. Now, strictly speaking, because I'm making this video is going to release in June, I have stuck to that, but in terms of the first official episode, due to unforeseen circumstances surrounding the guest I want to get on as the first guest, I am having to delay the first episode's release until July. We haven't recorded it yet, and that is the issue. It's finding time with them to record, really. I do have a provisional date planned for when I want to release the first episode. However, I'm not going to confirm that yet, in case more unforeseen circumstances arise, because that seems to have been a theme on the channel this year, unfortunately. But just know for now that I aim to release the first episode of Talking Thrills in July. How often will episodes be released? I plan to release episodes of Talking Thrills once per month. Now, due to the delay in episode 1 being recorded and released, I was actually initially planning to release the first 2 or 3 episodes on a fortnightly basis. However, I then had another think about it, and I'm not saying any more on this yet, but there are 1 or 2 guests I'm hoping to get on the talk show, if they agree to do it, that are going to be quite busy later this year, sort of in Halloween season. And if I was to release the first 2 or 3 episodes on a fortnightly basis, providing that the first episode releases when I want it to, in July, based off the order I've planned things at the moment, those people's episodes would end up being released in September and October, when they're going to be potentially really, really busy. Therefore, they'd be very unlikely to agree to record at that time as a result of that. Or at least that's my guests anyway, so it'd make things very difficult. So I've decided to stick to my guns and release every episode once a month. So there'll be one in July, one in August, one in September, etc, etc. How long will episodes be? I do, generally speaking, plan for these episodes to be longer than your average vlog or news update video or review, etc, on this channel, and those videos can range anything between 10 minutes to half an hour, sometimes even shorter than 10 minutes really. These talk show episodes, it will depend on how much per guest there is to discuss. Some guests may have a lot more background than others, but we could be looking at anything from half an hour to potentially an hour in some cases. So that is something to keep in mind if you are thinking you want to be a guest on this podcast, if you're a creator or you're an industry professional. But with that being said, I'm definitely prepared to be flexible, and if we need to split it into a 2-part episode, which means that I'll release part 1 one month and then a month later release part 2, or I might do it fortnightly in that case, to be honest. If we do need to split up recording sessions, so to speak, we can do that. If we need to keep an episode limited to a certain length, we can do that. I'm really, really flexible with it all, and I'll definitely be respectful of your time. But yeah, just a warning, I am one to ramble, so do expect these episodes to be as long as your typical podcast episodes, so within the 30 to 60 minute range. Will guests be interviewed virtually or face to face? Now, I feel the answer to this one is pretty obvious, but it might also not be to some people, because I know some podcasts such as Off the Tracks do things in person, but it's just going to be so much easier if I do this virtually. I mean, there are some guests who I'm planning to get on who I probably could do it face to face with, and I may well do some face to face episodes in the future, but for now it's going to be so much easier to do things virtually. For those of you who are going to be future guests on the show, how this will work is, when we've agreed a date and time to do things, I'll send you a link to, say, a Zoom meeting, either on a social media platform such as Twitter, Instagram, whatnot. Depends how I've got in contact with you, or you've got into contact with me, or via email even, potentially. I'll send you a link to that, and then you'll just need to join that, and I'll manage everything on my end in terms of recording and whatnot. I'll be recording using OBS Studio. I've got a plugin that I'm looking to sort out, an advanced scene switcher plugin, I believe it's called, that's essentially going to make it so if you've seen video podcasts on YouTube and whatnot, you'll notice how the camera switches to show whoever's talking at any given time. Essentially, this plugin's going to allow me to do that. So if I'm talking, asking the guest a question, the camera will focus on me, whereas if they're answering a question, it'll essentially show them on the Zoom call. Now, if you don't want to show your face on camera, you don't have to. For any guests who might be panicking now, who want to do this but are not comfortable showing your face, if you have a faceless YouTube channel or you just don't want to show your face, there's no pressure to do that. Again, I'm really flexible with that. It's fine. It'll just show your icon or whatever on screen instead. It won't affect anything technical wise, so to speak. Will episodes be pre-recorded or live broadcasts? Now, I do plan for predominantly episodes to be pre-recorded. However, I am very much open to doing some live broadcast episodes in the future. It probably won't be as extravagant as something like Off the Tracks Viewer Takeover, which is probably the most famous UK live podcast going. Really great guys, them, Dan and Jake. But I'd definitely love to do some live broadcast episodes going forward. Something a bit more interactive where you guys can ask guests questions in the chat. But for now, I do plan for episodes to be pre-recorded. And speaking of live broadcasts, I would like, generally speaking, I know this is going off on a tangent a bit, to do some live streams on this channel in the future, because I've never actually done one before. I think especially in the case of news updates, it'd be so much less stress for me to just share my thoughts in a live stream. It'd be more interactive as well, rather than having to drop everything I'm doing and rush to edit a video. I think I'd find it so much more enjoyable to just do a live stream. So for example, when Pleasure Beach eventually pull the finger out and get a new coaster planned, when that all gets announced, I'll just do a live stream instead of a news update. I think it'd be so much more enjoyable. I just need to get myself a setup really to be able to do that. But definitely live content on the channel is something I'd really like to delve into going forward. Will episodes be available on streaming platforms such as Spotify as well as YouTube? Now, this is one of those that I've addressed in the statement I released along with my initial Talking Thrills trailer. This is something I plan to expand out to in the future, but for the time being, episodes will be published on YouTube solely, just because I don't want to be messing around with that and it causing delays to things. I just want to get going with this now. I've been going on about doing this talk show for a year and I've still not started yet. I don't want any more delays, I just want to jump into it, but with time I'll definitely look into getting all of that set up so you'll be able to listen to your episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever the other streaming platforms are called. I don't even have a clue, but I've heard it's pretty easy to get it all set up so you can just publish to all of the popular ones. So yeah, you will be able to, in the distant future, listen to your Talking Thrills episodes while driving your sports car or whatever you've got to wherever you're going, a theme park. Who knows? Who will the first guest be? Should I tell you? Should I not? I'm really not sure. I think I might keep you waiting a little bit longer on that one, you know. I just feel it's too soon to announce it, you know. But what I will say, all you need to know is, I mean, it's obviously going to be someone who's mad about theme parks, isn't it? Can I be a guest on the show? Well, it depends, you know. I can't have hundreds of people DMing me on Instagram asking to come on the show. I can't say yes to all those people. It's as simple as that. Would just be, it wouldn't be logistical whatsoever. What I will say is I'm not going to be restricting it to people with thousands upon thousands of subscribers or followers or whatnot, someone who's really, really established in the industry. What I'm looking for is quality. Even if you only have 100 subscribers, if I see potential in your content, I might well shoot you a DM and be like, do you want to come on the podcast? Now, if you are a large content creator, like I obviously, as you're probably aware, know who all the big boys in the industry are, your Theme Park Worldwide, your Jack Silkstones and whatnot. I'm certainly not expecting to get Theme Park Worldwide on. As I said before, I'm not delusional about it. The people you're going to be seeing on here to start off with are going to be small names. I'm going to be starting off with friends and mutual friends and whatnot. I am putting together a list of people I want to ask, who I think would be great people to come on and offer some valuable insights. There's a couple of people who work for parks in there as well, I'll say that. All I'm saying is please don't flood my inbox with messages asking to come on this and expect for me to just be like, yeah, sure, any of you guys can come on. My plan is to put together a Google form where those of you who are interested in being a guest can fill in a bit about yourself, fill in your details, your links to your social media, what you'd like to get out of coming on the podcast. And what I'll do is I'll go through those every so often and pick some people out. And then those of you who I think would be good candidates, I'll send you a DM via one of the communication means you've put on the form, be that Twitter, Instagram, email, etc. Please be aware I don't have Facebook or TikTok, so please don't expect me to message you via one of those platforms. If you don't have Twitter or Instagram, you'd need to send me an email address I can contact you by. So what I will say is feel free to DM me if you're interested in coming on the podcast, but please don't necessarily expect a response if you're doing that and for me to say yes. Obviously, there are certain content creators out there who I'm a fan of, especially some of the Pleasure Beach content creators with similar followings to myself. Like, I'd obviously be more than happy to get you guys on. But in cases of people I don't know directly, a more effective means would be to fill in the Google form I'll put out, as that'll be structured in a way where I can get all the necessary information I need to judge whether I think you would be a good candidate. What I will say though is that if you do want to come on Talking Thrills and that doesn't end up happening, please don't take any sort of offence. It may not necessarily even mean that your content's not good enough. It's just that I obviously need to keep evolving the show. I'm going to be constantly looking for people with different experience, so to speak, because I don't want things to get too repetitive. And I obviously want to present the show in such a way such that over time it gets more recognition, and as a result of that I get more opportunities. That's just the natural truth, and I'm sure any of you guys who are content creators understand where I'm coming from there. So we're now moving on to the questions that have been sent in by you guys, the first of which comes from Theme Park Mad, the legend that is Josh, who has been my right-hand man with this whole YouTube stuff, appearing in all my vlogs for a good number of years now, and he asks, who named the show? Now, that is actually a bit of a sarcastic question, because believe it or not, the person who actually named the show is Josh himself. A major reason why this show has just been delayed and delayed and delayed ever since I announced that I wanted to do it around about a year ago now is because I could never think of a name for it. Don't get me wrong, there were other reasons as well that contributed to its delay, but this was one of the major ones. So one day I just messaged Josh asking him for ideas, and he came up with two names, one of which was Thrill Talk, which I didn't really like because I felt it sounded too similar to my channel name Thrillnet and people might get confused between the two. But the other he suggested was Talking Thrills, and just something about that name felt right to me. I feel it describes quite well and succinctly what the show is all about. It has a relationship to my channel name without it being too similar, if that makes sense. So I just went with that. And it's pretty much after that I made the trailer and announced officially the show. And that's the thing, I didn't want to officially announce that it was going to be happening and tease a start date until I had a name for it. I didn't just want to put out a post saying the talk show is going to start on this date. That just wouldn't sound very good and professional, would it? And with that, I think now is as good a time as any to confirm that the first guest on Talking Thrills is going to be Josh from Theme Park Mad. I mean, those of you who watched the channel for a while could probably guess. I mean, there's no one else who I could rightfully make the first guest, is there? As I said, he's been my right-hand man with YouTube for so long now. He is just the perfect person to get on as the first guest. And as I said, that episode with him is going to be coming up in July. I'm just struggling at the moment to record with him because he's a very busy person, a lot busier than I anticipated. We've had some unforeseen circumstances, and the only real free time I've had with him in the past and have with him now is the weekends, and we usually visit him Pleasure Beach together on one of the weekend days or Alton Towers, etc. So it's just finding that time. However, I'm sure by the provisional date, which I'm not going to confirm to you, we'll have had a chance to record the episode, and editing of Talking Thrills shouldn't be too bad because of the way I'm going to be recording it, which I explained briefly before. So I'm optimistic, guys, that you're going to have an episode out with Josh in July, and it's going to be so exciting. We're going to be discussing everything from how he became a theme park enthusiast, the history of Theme Park Mad and how it came to be, and some of his big achievements, because he's achieved a lot in the last year. Josh, he's obviously on 1.5k subscribers as of recording. He was invited to the press event for a brand new scare attraction, The Curse of Bermuda Falls, last year. He got added to the Pleasure Beach shopping PR list. So yeah, we're going to be discussing everything regarding that and so much more. We're going to have a lot of gossip for you guys. And the next question, which is a little bit of a random one, comes from Tegan_046 on Instagram. I'm sure a lot of you who've watched the channel in the past know who Tegan is. She's one of my friends and she's appeared in a few of my vlogs now, and she also used to work at Pleasure Beach, so I'm sure a lot of you locals who watch the channel will have seen her out and about. And she asks, favourite memory with the group or with me? So yeah, this isn't really a talk show related question, is it? But yeah, by the group, she's obviously referring to me, Josh, Danielle, the people she hangs out with. And well, you know what, we'll keep it on topic with the talk show. My favourite memory with you, Tegan, is when we used to come and chat to you when you were working on Blue Flyers, Q Line, or Fairy World Taxi Spin. We had plenty of fun rides on there in 2024, plenty of bouncing sensations. Obviously, Tegan doesn't work at the park anymore, so we never ride on the Nickelodeon Land rides nearly as much because of that. Tegan, I can confirm, is going to be a guest on the show in the near future as well, in a couple of episodes' time. And we're going to be talking about her experience working at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. So I'm sure that is going to be very insightful for those of you who potentially may want to work at parks in the future. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to Tim Duncan because he commented cool on my post I put on my channel asking you guys to send in your questions for this video. So yeah, there you go. I'm glad you're excited for this project that is coming to the channel because it really is something to be excited about. But there we have it. The talk show is a matter of weeks away from starting. I've gone through everything now that you need to be aware of before it starts for those of you who both potentially want to be on the show and also you guys who are just excited to view or listen to it. So with that being said, for my latest Blackpool Pleasure Beach vlog, because as I said before, I'm a prominent Pleasure Beach creator, click the video on the right side of your screen and click the Thrillnet icon on the left side of your screen to subscribe to the channel. I'm Ben, you've been watching or listening to Talking Thrills, and I'll see you again very soon.